in relation to this? Where am I in relation to this square or this rectangle? And I'm to this side. Okay, and all I have to do is put a dot there. This little dot is going to be called the vanishing point. And you're going to see why. You probably heard that term before. It sounds like a movie. Vanishing point. And this is where all of your depth lines, your perspective lines, are going to go, and they essentially merge at this point. And this point is going to look as though it's way off in the distance, like it's sitting on the horizon, way off, far away from you. So, what do? How do I make this thing look 3D using all this stuff? Well, I guess for this part I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm going to just extend a line from the vanishing point to the corners of this box. And there's two of them. And that's going to be the top of the box. And see, I just keep my pen on the point and move the ruler to the corner. Makes it pretty simple. And now the thing is projecting back, and this is the top and this is the side, and that's all we can see because it's a solid box in this case. But it goes back forever, and it becomes, it vanishes essentially back there at that point. Well, we don't want to make it look like it's that long or that deep, because this is the depth of the box. So these depth lines have to be cut off. And how do we decide where to do that? Well, it can be done pretty much anywhere along here, but I'll show you. If I just go back a little bit, and I'm going to use a ruler so that it looks more accurate. I go across the top and I draw a line which is horizontal, like this one, another horizontal line that goes between these two. That cuts off the top. That shows how far back I'm going to go. And then to complete it, all I'm going to do is drop a line from this corner down, straight down, to where I touch the other depth line. And now, I think you can see I have a box that kind of looks like a cube. It's got dimension to it, and I'll kind of shade in this side a little bit to help illustrate. And you don't really have to do this, you can if you want, but this just helps illustrate the box. These lines can be erased. I can't erase because I'm using this pen, but you don't need these lines anymore. These are just guidelines to help you construct the box. And there you have something that's 3D now, in that it's got height, it has width, and it has depth. These angled lines represent the depth, and they go back to the vanishing point, and the vanishing point sits right there on the horizon line. Well, that's just one little box constructed, and seems really simple. We just went from the corners of our rectangle back to the point, and then I cut it off with lines that are horizontal and vertical. There's something I want to say about those lines. If you look, there's 3 lines in this that are all going the same. This one, that line, and that line are all horizontal. In other words, going straight across, like the horizon line does. They're all going across, and they're all what we call parallel to each other. Here's another vocabulary word. Parallel. What does that mean? Lines that are parallel to each other extend in any direction, but are always equal distant apart. So no matter how far they go, they don't meet and they don't cross. They're always an equal distance apart. And think of it like railroad tracks. Okay, railroad tracks are parallel. They're always the same distance apart. They don't cross. So they're running, and my hand might not be super steady. Lines like this that are the same distance apart here as they are here are called parallel. Okay, we have other parallel lines here. We have this one, the height. We have one here, and one here. Those lines are also parallel. They're going straight up, but they would never cross, and they're always going to be the same distance, just like this if we took it and turned it up. So that's an important word, parallel. Two lines, they're always an equal distance apart. They don't necessarily have to be vertical or horizontal, but if they went off in this direction, they would still be equal distant apart. And that's kind of what we're representing here. And even with these depth lines, now here's the thing about perspective, and this is why things begin to look real or 3D when we apply perspective to them. The whole concept is that objects that are further away from you appear smaller than objects that are close to you. So as you move away into the background, things begin to look smaller. And you can demonstrate this to yourself looking at any object, two objects that are the same, put one close to you and put one further away, and you can actually measure it with your hand. Just hold your hand out and take a measurement of the height, and then go to the one that's further away and take a measurement of the height, and you'll see that the one that's further away appears smaller. And we may know that it's the same height. It may actually be the same height, but distance has that effect visually. So that's why we create the illusion of depth and 3 dimensions, is making things become smaller as they move away from us. Now I'm going to do a little demonstration. I'll show you the difference when we use it and when we don't. First, you've seen this object I drew. I'm going to draw a box similar to it. Okay, that's like the one we started with. Now let's say I complete this without the knowledge of perspective and how things are going to get smaller as they move away from us. Okay, I'm going to try to make this look 3D, and I'm not going to use a horizon line. I'm going to just kind of freelance and see what I come up with. And I get this. Okay, now that becomes a little bit confusing visually. Why? Well, I guess because it can really fool your eye. We don't know whether we're looking down into, if this is the back or that's the front. Now you may have to squint and take a couple looks to see what I'm talking about, but doesn't it look like it could be a wall going back, and here is the back wall, and this is a side wall, and it's open, and we're looking at the back, or this could be the front, and that's the side wall. See, it's the reason it's confusing visually is that it doesn't follow the rules of perspective, so it looks like a peculiar object. Unlike this